Good evening. I call to order the business meeting of the Cave Creek Unified School District number 93 Governing Board. It's Tuesday, October 11th, 2022, and it's 6 o'clock. Item 1.2, roll call. All 5 board members are present, and there is a quorum. Present from the cabinet are Dr. Monroe, Dr. Jensen, Dr. Hendrickson, Ms. Rodriguez, and Mrs. Scott. 1.3, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, motion carries. The agenda is adopted as presented. Item 1.4, call to fill out forms. We have some forms, so an admonition will be read in a few minutes. 1.5, Pledge of Allegiance. We have Brooks Spencer, a 6th grader from Black Mountain, who will lead us in the pledge. Thank you, Brooks. Item 1.7, board comments. 1.6, President's Report. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Rodriguez and her department for receiving the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. Ms. Rodriguez and her department are very conscientious to ensure accuracy and transparency, and that's what that reward was all about. So thank you very much. I and many others, I hope, have contacted Governor Ducey's office requesting that he convenes an emergency legislative session for the purpose of overriding the aggregate expenditure limit so that our district and all public school districts don't run into the problem that we potentially faced last spring, and that was running out of money. So I and many others are hoping that he'll call the legislature back into session before January and get that squared away. Congratulations to the mountain bike team. Now I hope I'm saying her name right. Leah Marazovic, who placed first in 7th grade girls, and Allison Reamer, who placed third in 8th grade girls. And then last, I would like to thank our business owners in Cave Creek for the tremendous support they've shown this district. In the 30-some years I've been a stakeholder here, I've never seen the support shown by our business owners, so thank you so much. And that's it for me. 1.7, board comments.
Well, to that note, I will, it seems like so long ago that we went into that business breakfast, but I did get to go to that. It was incredible. There were so many people there. It was good to talk to all the business owners and to see that support. The other thing that I did, went out and canvassed for the override. So that was exciting. Got to go out and do that and talk to some people. I did see when they did that candidate forum that every single candidate supported the bond, the override. I keep saying bond, supported the override. So I hope to see more people out at the next one. So please come out and help us with that. Thanks. That's all I got.
Yeah, I've been able, sports are in full effect, so that's been fun. Been able to participate in more sports at the high school campus, so got to watch the girls volleyball rival against Horizon, which was a great game. All matches went into that third match, so that was great to see. Also experienced a football game and sat next to the student section, which maybe that's not the best spot for me unless I dress up, but it was fun to experience. And then also I did see our 7th grade girl mountain bike in person, was there to cheer those girls on. They did an amazing job. The first place 7th grader lapped the 8th grade girls, which was really neat to see. And the majority of the high school team is all freshmen, so it's nice to be building a new mountain bike team. That's it for me.
It's been a month since our last meeting. There's been just, with the rolling up of school years, just tons of events going on. I've attended 3 of the public override presentations to be there to support the presentation and to answer any questions that maybe parents or community members might have at those. Two of those were at the Holland Center. The other one was up at the Desert Foothills Library. Like Member Fortney, I also attended the Business Partner Breakfast. That was a fantastic event, and we have just about reached capacity. I believe Dr. Monroe said there was 120 people in attendance for that event. It was great to see all the different business partners that will come out and support the district. Also have attended the last couple of varsity football games, but I was privileged to be included in the Cactus Shadows. The International Baccalaureate students have a candidate forum every 2 years for the school board candidates. Myself and the other 3 candidates attended that back. So it's been a couple of weeks ago now. Just congratulations to all of the IB students. They were very professional, very polite, great to talk to them before the event, handled themselves very professionally. So it was a well-done event on their part. So I was glad to participate in that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Board. Item 1.8, Superintendent's Report, Dr. Monroe.
And President Hatcher, members of the board, it's good to be back after the fall break. As the board is aware, last week our families and students were off. Our schools were closed for a week. I hope that all were able to unplug and recharge so that we're able to finish this first semester very, very strongly. It's been great to be able to listen to the things that people did during the break, the families and the students. October is National Principals Month. We highlight and honor and celebrate our good leaders who do the work in the trenches and their staff in the community. We are so grateful to our principals, and so you'll be seeing a lot of different recognitions for our principals during this month. In late September, our Cactus Shadows Lady Falcon volleyball team, they played in the 32nd Annual Goldwater Festival, and they brought home the championship trophy. On day one, they played North Canyon High School, Arizona College Prep, and Desert Mountain. They beat each one without dropping a single set. On day two, the first match of the day, they battled against Northwest Christian to a third set that they won 15-6. In the semifinals, they took on Paradise Valley High School, and in the championship match, they faced off with Deer Valley, winning that match and winning the tournament. Not that I'm competitive. The offensive player of the tournament was senior outside hitter Cameron Gabadlo. She notched 50 kills on 88 attempts. She also served up 7 aces over the 2 days. And if you've been to one of our girls' volleyball games, I know Mrs. Board Member Walker was there with me. These girls can jump through the roof. They can jump so high. The defensive player of the tournament was our senior libero, Kara Hakel. She passed 28 receptions, 24 digs she had, and she served up 15 aces over the 2 days. We want to give a shout out to our sophomore setter, Stephanie Helmick. She filled in for the senior setter who was away at a family wedding over the break. She had 99 assists, 26 digs, and 5 aces. And Coach Nicole Blavelt said, "We work hard implementing our philosophy," which I love. Don't wish it, don't wish for it, work for it. So the girls competed with an elite mindset and were unified in every aspect of the game, which really goes to our one-team mentality. I'd like to congratulate the following seniors who have been named as commended students in the 2023 National Merit Scholarship Program: Francesca Douglas, Paul Plato, and Jacob Rollins. Commended students throughout the nation are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. Although they will not continue in the 2023 competition, commended students placed among the top 50,000 students who entered the 2023 competition by taking the preliminary SAT, the National Merit Qualifying Scholarship Test. I'd also like to thank the Cave Creek Unified Education Foundation. We held our first ever Golf the District, which was a tremendous success. Over 80 golfers attended, and the foundation made over $25,000 to use toward our teacher grants. The Business Partner Breakfast was mentioned before. That was a huge success. We're so grateful to have the support of our local businesses and nonprofits. The group was treated to a performance by our Cactus Shadows pep band in the parking lot. Mrs. Rodriguez and myself gave a factual presentation regarding the override. I was stopped several times after the meeting by people saying that they attend breakfast, like this quite frequently, but that the information they received regarding public school funding was quite eye-opening. Also, Mrs. Brashear, who's the president of the Education Foundation, spoke about the success of Golf the District. Just so the board is aware, the next business partner breakfast is scheduled for late January, January 25th. Our Cactus Shadow student-run newspaper, which is called the CS Press, was awarded a Crown Award by Columbia Scholastic Press Association in April 2022. Listen to this. There were a total of 817 publications eligible for judging across the United States, and we won. In their media release, they said the Crown judges were sensitive to the challenges imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic and its effects on student publication production. Despite the many difficulties that arose, these Crown Award-winning publications flourished and produced awe-inspiring work. Two more shout-outs I'd like to give. First of all, it was touched on, but our Sonoran Trails mountain bike team is flexing their muscles, as you could hear. They did a great job overall late last month in their last mountain bike race, and it's fun to see that program grow. And lastly, I'd like to thank Mr. Andrew Cupo, Miss Angela Thomas, Miss Tracy Clay, and the IB seniors for organizing the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board Forum on September 21st. The students did a tremendous job in helping the community get to know the candidates. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce our student leader on my left. This is Brooks Spencer, as you mentioned, President Hatcher. He's a sixth grader at Black Mountain Elementary School, and he's been selected as the Black Mountain Elementary School student leader. So let's give him a little round of applause.
Hello, I am a student at BMES. This is my 9th year at the school, including preschool. I think the thing that keeps me at the school is the specials. We have specials like PE, music, art, dance, and drama. In drama, I tried out for the play The Jungle Book. It was my first time doing anything like performance related, so I was really nervous. But the teachers encouraged me to keep going, and I got, in my opinion, the best role, Baloo. Now I'm in the play Sousified Christmas Carol, and I'm the main character, Scrooge. In music, I'm doing an instrument group where we learn different melodies. They've definitely shown me that I am more confident in doing stuff like this. I guarantee 2 or 3 years ago, I would have declined having this opportunity to speak in front of you guys.
And here he is. Let's give him another round of applause. We're proud of our student leaders, including Brooks, who set such a good example and a model of kindness and caring and leadership around all of our schools. So we appreciate you being here tonight, Brooks. And that's my report, President Hatcher.
Thank you. Brooks, you are a well-spoken young man. Yes.
He was humble as well. I've seen him on the drums, and that's pretty impressive as well.
Okay, item 2.1, call to the public. We do have some folks that want to speak, so an admonition will be read. According to ARS 38-431.01H, governing board members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public. The only allowable responses a governing board member may take are 1, board member may respond if there is direct criticism of the board member, 2, board member may direct staff to look into a matter, or 3, board member can ask to have this item placed on a future agenda. Speakers need to be mindful of what they say when presenting to the board. Inappropriate comments could be considered slanderous. Okay, so you'll have 3 minutes each, up to 3 minutes each if you need it. First speaker, Brian Bunkers. Come on up.
Try that microphone. Let's see if that microphone's on.
How's it work? Good evening. Welcome aboard. President Hatcher, Vice President Fortney, governing board members, Dr. Monroe, Dr. Jensen, Ms. Scott, Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you for the opportunity. Full disclosure, my name is Brian Bunkers. I'm running for governing board as well. But I'm here to address item 7.1 on the agenda. This just serves as another reminder of Member Brown's actions speaking louder than words. Member Brown may say he's pro-education, but clearly he's not. Let's imagine in some bizarre world where his fantasy comes true and he's able to prevail in one of these threats to harm others through frivolous lawsuits. What purpose would that serve? I mean, think about that. All it does was cost the school district money, and then the school district further lose money if they had losses case in a bizarre world in which it came true. So not only would this harm kids monetarily, but through witnessing his actions. He's been a bully, hot-tempered, and does not understand finances and cannot seem to work together towards a common goal of quality education for our community. Additionally, if you listen to his comments during the governing board forum, which was mentioned, he touts how proud he is to be sponsored by Purple for Parents. It's a group that wants to directly take funds out of public schools, further harming our community, schools, and most importantly, our kids. How is that representative of someone that supports our schools? Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, there are two names on here, so if you're both here, you would get 3 minutes each, 6 minutes total, one at a time though. Cheryl and Mike McClary. So are you both speaking?
We'll just be together.
Okay.
I think we can get it done in 3 minutes.
All right.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. We are also here because we feel that Scott Brown should not be reelected to the governing board. In our opinion, and with our experience with him, he has been untrustworthy, he has lied, and he has not communicated well, and has really thought about himself and his agenda. These characteristics we have personally experienced. Our experience with Scott Brown resulted in the governing board having some serious behind closed doors discussions. For those of you who are not familiar with the story, a few years ago, Scott Brown sold bricks that were to be engraved with a student's name and placed in a walkway during the remodel of the football stadium facilities. We bought a brick for $100 and frankly forgot about it until a couple of years later when our daughter was a senior. Long story short, not one teacher, administrator, or the principal had any idea what I was talking about when I asked where or what the commemorative brick walk was. I reached out to Scott Brown countless times by email and phone. I never received any response. We could not believe that he would be that irresponsible at communicating about his own project. After several months, I cornered him at the Meet the Candidate forum and asked him about the bricks. He said that they were in a warehouse and were waiting to be engraved. This was a flat-out lie, as we later learned. He said he would be in touch. Many months passed, plenty more attempts from us to make contact. Once again, no response from Scott. We decided we had had enough and filed a police report. It was only after the policeman called and spoke with Scott that he emailed us to say he would be refunding our money for the brick. He was not the least bit remorseful, nor did he apologize at that point, or when we presented this to the board, his demeanor during the governing board meeting was dismissive, immature, and defiant. He even cut me off when I was speaking to say that my 3 minutes were up. We feel quite sure that he would never have returned our calls or emails and the money. In our opinion, he has never been worthy of this board seat, and this certainly remains true to this day. From our personal experience, Scott Brown does not represent anyone's interests but his own. He does not have the values or characteristics to represent the Cave Creek Unified School District and should not be reelected. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, Stephen Hatcher.
Evening. To the board, I'm going to read this for you, something I prepared for the board. I'm here really primarily to discuss actions of the board and some conduct of the board. I've been on various charities, foundations, and corporate boards, and where each of those individuals have brought different education, experience to that board to help support it and meet the prime directives of that company, charity, or foundation. The main directives, as I say here, is that all of us have an understanding to solve the issues that we face with the data we have and the resources that are available to meet those prime directives, very much like a school board with the financial resources that you have and the academic resources, and so forth. Every question, in my mind, that is presented by this board, every decision, every action taken should be and always be for the prime directive. Those directives are to support our teachers, our schools, our children, and our community. School boards have a lot of responsibility in the district. They make a lot of decisions that affect a lot of people. They approve policy making. They hire our superintendent. They approve budgets, curriculums, and above all, are to be a community advocate. Effective school boards, as well as a corporate board, have a range of objectives they try and meet. One, of course, setting and monitoring the goals. Compiling and interpreting district data, of which Dr. Monroe and our CFO are experts in. Staying informed of all activities and initiatives for the district. They must also maintain and develop a healthy and respectful relationship with their fellow teachers, administrators, and the school superintendent. This is something I do not see happening over the time I've been here. But most of all, an effective school board works in a unified manner to support the superintendent with mutual trust to achieve the prime directives. And we all know what they are for our schools and our children. From what I have seen and heard, not all members of the school board believe in this prime directive. Unfortunately, I believe there are those that came to the board with a personal agenda.
Time's up.
Time's up?
Yep.
You say that at home, too. I apologize.
All righty. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Jennifer Forbes.
Thank you, President Hatcher, for the opportunity to speak. I would like to share an incident with an existing governing board member and current candidate for CCUSD board, Scott Brown. I'm a parent and a PTO president. In early September, I was approached by two candidates for the CCUSD governing board who asked to attend our PTO meeting on September 7th. As the PTO president, I was happy to allow the opportunity for our membership to hear from candidates as our meetings are open to the public. I had not heard from the other two candidates, including Scott Brown, in person, by email, or any other means. On September 9th, as I was volunteering my time to get the word out about the upcoming override, wearing my Desert Willow PTO shirt, I was approached by Scott Brown. He asked if the other two candidates had spoken at our meeting, and I confirmed that they had. He then informed me that he could file a complaint to shut down our PTO if there was a perception that we were favored one candidate over another. To be clear, he never asked to attend a meeting, even during this exchange, and immediately started with what sounded like the threat of litigation. As a current board member, Mr. Brown understands that our PTOs fund librarians, kindergarten aides, pay for playground improvements, and provide teachers with supplies. So I was shocked to hear that Mr. Brown would consider taking down an organization that is funded by an entire school's worth of parents, run by a handful of busy parent volunteers, and exists solely to benefit our community. I laid awake at 2 a.m. that night, wondering if all the hours and effort I put into Desert Willow is worth it if a governing board member feels he has the power to threaten my nonprofit organization and therefore my school. I had shown up to Falcon Field that night to help try to get our schools the funding they desperately need through passing an override. And I left wondering how a governing board member thinks it's a good idea to threaten volunteers in our community who are simply trying to help our schools. Why didn't he simply ask for a meeting as the other candidates had? In closing, I would like to encourage everyone to vote on November 8th and to not elect Scott Brown. The governing board seats are important positions to fill with people who have the best intentions and can make sound decisions for our students, teachers, and community. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Member Hatcher, since I was named, I'd like to just make one little comment, please. I also served as a PTO co-president many years ago, and it was very important to realize there were some things that can and cannot be done on campus using school resources, school materials, or such. There's a Arizona Revised Statute 15511. I am concerned that during school hours, this meeting was taking place on school property, and also as a 501c3, which the PTO groups are, they are legally bound by Internal Revenue Service regulations that they cannot be any endorsement of any political person or event or policy or anything like that. They have to stay neutral. My concern is I was scared that somebody else may follow that, that it was advertised on their social media platforms, and that there is a problem if somebody did file a notice with the Attorney General's office. Now, if that was taken as a threat, I apologize for that, but I realize what the PTO groups do for all the schools in the district, and I would hate for maybe their misunderstanding of the regulations that would cost them that opportunity to support their schools. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next speaker, Marla Riney.
Good evening, everyone. So as it was mentioned, today is the last day to register to vote in Arizona for this November's election. There are several key issues on the ballot that will impact our schools, from the state superintendent of education to the governing board seats to...
I'll watch the clock. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was given time.
I noticed you had something stapled. Can I just stop the clock for a second?
Sorry.
There are two of them stapled together. Are you speaking for two people then? Is that what?
Yes, I was given Allison's
Sorry
time.
about that.
Yep. Okay, so I'll catch you up here. So there are several key issues on the ballot that will impact our schools, from the state superintendent of education to 2 governing board seats to the override, which this board supported unanimously, and that myself and many others, some in the room, have been working diligently to pass. As voters, it is our responsibility to be well educated and informed before casting our votes. Regarding the override, if Cave Creek's teachers, if it passes, Cave Creek teachers and staff will finally be paid a competitive wage. This type of investment in public education in Cave Creek is long overdue, especially since we are one of the wealthiest communities in Maricopa County. This is how the Arizona legislature funds public education, by only giving the minimum amount per pupil and forcing districts to ask citizens to approve overrides and bonds. Arizona is always ranked in the bottom of states per pupil funding. So this override is essential for increasing salaries. The efforts to educate the community and pass this override have been a bit of an uphill battle. It does not help when the naysayers continue to cry about their personal contentment for the district or the superintendent and the unnecessary need for a costly audit. Our leaders need to stand up and say enough already. The district is audited multiple times each year. All this noise only builds distrust in our community, in our governing board, in our superintendent, and just to remember, 3 of y'all hired him. So, this is your superintendent too. So that brings me to the governing board seats. CCUSD deserves leaders who are invested in this community and in public education, not want to be politicians who see our governing board as their stepping stone. We deserve listeners who have empathy for others and a willingness to be the change. We deserve collaborators who can professionally address concerns, agree to disagree, and put the interests of the whole before their individual interests. We deserve leaders who lead with integrity and speak up when something is wrong, not bend to community pressure. Bystander responsibility is everyone's responsibility. This is what we teach our children, and our leaders should role model this every day. In the past year or so, I have sadly seen governing board members contribute to the contempt and distrust in this community. The privilege to sit And that seat, as a representative, has been taken for granted through grudges, personal attacks, and overall disrespect. Cave Creek schools deserve better. We deserve a governing board that builds a supportive environment for all, so not one student, not one teacher, not one staff member falls through the cracks. We need leadership that will take a public stance for this override, because it must pass, not vote yes and then make resentful comments. Our students deserve better by all of us, especially those that are elected to represent and lead. Mail-in ballots will be received in a few days. Walk-in voting is November 8th. Please vote yes for this M&O override for our deserving and dedicated teachers and staff. Vote your conscience for the governing board seats as well as the state superintendent. Consider which candidates are truly invested in our district and will lead for all students while lifting up CCUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like that, Brooks? Okay. Item 3, presentations, information reports. 3.1, October Students of the Month, presented by me, Beth Hatcher. Before the students are recognized, I'm going to read a little something from my seat, and then the board will come down here, and students will come up individually as called and be presented with their certificate and have their picture taken. So, the statement. The mission of the Cave Creek Unified School District is to provide an innovative, high-quality learning experience for all students by facilitating strategies to develop curious, resilient, critical thinking problem solvers. Students will be empowered to make a difference while inspiring excellence in our communities, families, and the world. In Cave Creek Unified School District, we believe that every learner is unique and deserves the power to shape a personal path toward success. Abraham Lincoln once said, quote, "I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end," unquote. We know that these students being recognized here tonight exhibit great character, do their very best, and inspire excellence through their effort, achievement, and service to others. These students receive this recognition and nomination from their individual teacher or teachers and principals at their own school, and we recognize them here tonight. They are the best of the best, and the reason that each one of us on this board serve. They are truly inspiring excellence. Thank you, students. So the board will step down now. I hope I pronounce all these names correctly. The first student is Cece Liu from Black Mountain Elementary School. Congratulations. Come on up. Sorry for standing in front of y'all again. Congratulations. So, Cece. All right, the next student is Beckett Cartler from Black Mountain Elementary School. The next student, Evelyn Melendez from Lone Mountain Elementary School. Next student, Reed Hamill from Horseshoe Trails Elementary School. Next student, Lino Alonso Leon Valencia from Desert Sun Academy. Next student, McCartney Von Tersch from Desert Willow Elementary School. Next student, Nash Ebert from Sonoran Trails Middle School. And the next student, last student, William Deitch from Cactus Shadows High School.
Now's a good time to come up if you want to snap a picture. We'll line up with all the board members. Yeah.
Get in there. Big smiles, everybody. All right, all right. One of those is doing good.
So we're going to take about a 5-minute break and let y'all take pictures with your principal, your teacher, and then if you would like to leave, you may leave. If you'd like to stay, we'd be happy to have you. Where does this go? One more minute. That's what I used to say to my kids in my class. Now I got to watch the clock since I said it. Okay, about 45 more seconds. Kind of like peace at the church. I thought our friend was staying. Brooks. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. He doesn't have a choice. I think he wanted to. He said he wanted to, yeah. Mom had, different plans.
When the ride's leaving, you kind of...
All right, we're going to begin again. Item 3.2, transportation presentation, presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez and Ms. Danielak Moore. I hope I said that correctly.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I am so excited tonight to introduce our Director of Transportation. This is Danny Moore, and she's been with us about 7 months now. And in that short amount of time, she has just made a tremendous difference in the department, in the morale, and just she's going to share some things with you this evening, kind of tell you what she's been up to the last 7 months. I do want to say Danny is one of the most respected directors of transportation in the state. Very knowledgeable, actually does trainings at professional development workshops for other transportation professionals. And as a matter of fact, we had the Arizona Risk Retention Trust come and speak to our leadership team last month. And the person that was there that oversees transportation issues also commented that all of the transportation directors that she's ever worked with, Danny is one of the best. And she knows her stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Danny, and she's going to share some information about the transportation department with you.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Monroe, and members of Cabinet. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you tonight. It has been just over 7 months since I first introduced myself, and we have done a lot of stuff in transportation. I'm very excited to share those with you. We are all very familiar with our strategic plan priorities, and two that are taken very seriously in transportation are employee excellence and effective operations, resources, and systems. You will see throughout this presentation that these goals are taken seriously, and I'm very excited to share our success. A few things I'll share with you tonight are our celebrations, staffing issues, buses, routes, edulog, and leave it open for any questions or discussions that you may have. I'd like to start with our celebrations. When I started, I was very surprised to learn that CCUSD had never attended a TAA conference. This is Transportation Administrators of Arizona. This is a conference that's held in Arizona where all of the districts are invited to go and collaborate, team build, and learn up-and-coming events, hear from public safety officers, and hear trends in the administration and facilities that we work with on a yearly basis. It was really great to be able to bring our group to this year and provide that training this summer. We were able to team build. We learned a lot of relevant info. We connected with other districts. We built a lot of relationships with our sister districts because they're the ones that we need to call if anything should happen, and those relationships are very important. I was able to attend this year with Ken, our lead mechanic, Jonna and Gregor, our 2 trainers. Staff development continued at our in-service this year. I provided 3 full days of training to include a speaker from the TSA, which is the Transportation Security Administration. You may not think that that would play into the school bus industry, but it plays a giant role in us and what we do. She was able to come out and speak to us about trends, things that were going on in the industry, and how to keep a lookout for things and safety measures at our bus stops. We welcomed Cave Creek's very own Marshall Stein, who spoke to us regarding trends in our areas, things to look for in our community, and just overall give us a really nice speech about how his school bus driver had an effect on his life as a young man and how he appreciated the jobs that we do here in Cave Creek. We have built a relationship with the Trust, which is our district liability insurance, as you heard from Ms. Rodriguez. We invited the Trust School Bus Division to come in, and we asked them to audit our training records because I'd rather be transparent and know what we're up against to see how we're doing, and we did very well. She was able to work with our trainers to make sure that we're doing exactly what we need to be doing. I would also like to share that every year the Department of Public Safety, better known as DPS to us, they come out to each school district that has yellow fleet to do a yearly inspection. Last year, our fleet passed at under 50%. This year, we passed it over 80%. The fleet that was not on our property due to mechanical error were downtown and unable to be inspected on that first day. However, they are getting re-inspected this week, and we anticipate to have 100%. The fleet that we did have off property taught us that we really needed to do better about diagnosing things in-house. We were able to buy diagnostic equipment that will help us save in the future by being able to diagnose what's wrong with our fleet and provide the equipment and things that we need to in-house to get those serviced and fixed. For staffing, currently we have 56 total staff. This includes 33 drivers, 6 bus aides, 5 van drivers, 2 trainers, 2 office staff, 2 mechanics, and 1 warehouse. We are collectively pretty small in comparison to some of our other districts. We do have the need for 3 more drivers, 2 more van drivers, 1 additional bus assistant, 1 mechanic, and 1 more office staff. You can see by our little picture, we're a very diverse group, and I need to also make mention that I do have 2 drivers in our audience here with us tonight. Their day started at 5 a.m., so I'm very thankful and blessed that they were here with me this evening.
And Pam is here.
As well as Pam. I'm sorry, Pam. She is my right and left-hand person. She knows everything about our district. She has adopted me and really helped me to do the job that I do every day for everyone here, and I can't thank her enough for all that she does. She is my assistant, my router, my right-hand person. She's just everything. She's amazing. So thank you, guys, for being here. I appreciate you. We held our very first job fair. I was really excited to do this. It allowed us to team build with the staff that showed up to volunteer for this event. It was a ride and drive event, so recently a bill was passed where our small bus that was 15 passengers or less could have a driver that was non-CDL. So we had a protected environment where folks could come out and drive the bus and see how they liked it, interview on the spot. We got one. He had hip surgery and will be applying in 6 to 8 weeks. However, the advertising that we did do did recoup 2 additional applicants that we have hired one and we are in the process of hiring another. And Marcy surprised us and came out and drove a bus. So she can attest to what that feels like, how empowering it is, and it's like one of the best jobs in the world. So when you retire, Marcy. So our fleet, in the 21-22 school year, we spent a little over $207,000 towards repairs. We do have an aging fleet. The pandemic has caused a lot of lead time in the industry. It's harder to get parts. We have buses ranging in age from 2002. You can imagine how easy it is to find parts for those, all the way up to 2018. Mileage will range from 75,000 to 322,000. So we are doing our best to keep our fleet up and on the road, but with lead time and 2 mechanics, we're just doing the best that we can. In total, we have 41 buses. For our routes, this is where it gets a little bit confusing. I often forget that people don't speak transportation, so I will do my best to describe what our routes look like. So we have 54 regular ed runs. These are accomplished on 25 routes. Those 25 routes do 1, 2 to 3 tiers and taking students to and from our campuses. We have 5 special needs routes, ESS. They do 10 runs amongst the 5. 9 runs are done on 6 out of district routes. We have 4 midday routes for our preschoolers that are done on 4 runs. We have 1 McKinney-Vento route, which services our student that is of our homeless population. And we have really had to learn how to optimize our resources by condensing routes, creating combo routes that do Sonoran Trails and Cactus Shadows out to Rio Verde or Troon, our faraway homes. That way we can maximize our resources without having enough fleet or drivers to accomplish that. We do the best that we can. So we do have a need to grow. However, if anything, again, the pandemic taught us how to get really good with limited resources. I am proud to announce that we do have EduLog Athena. We are currently still training in the software. We have 3 more trainings that we will be doing. It's a really good routing software that will really help us be much more efficient. The most important part of this is going to be our parent portal. The parent portal is going to be an app that our parents can download either to an Apple or Android device. They will be able to log in with student-specific information, so only those that have the correct information, since the student IDs, actual birth dates, can identify that they have a student, that they will be given access to be allowed to look at their student record, find out where their bus is, receive communication. So if a bus goes down, we're going to be able to push a notification to let the families affected know that our routes are going to be running a little late that morning. Or if a bus breaks down and we need to replace it with another bus, what bus number they can expect to be coming to pick up their students. The communication for this, we're going to do a soft rollout, and the next month we're going to be pushing some notifications through our schools, training with staff, teaching them about the program, working with IT to advertise on our webpage to show what the program will do, and we would like to have this in place for our parents starting January when we return from the winter break. The initial cost of the program was $42,000, and the yearly cost to run it will be $20,000. But again, it provides the parent portal, the effective routing software, where only students that are routed will populate, so that we're going to know exactly where our students are, where we need to send our buses. We're not sending buses into blind spots thinking, well, we know we might have some kids there. We're going to actually know who's riding our buses, and we'll be able to communicate effectively.
And if I may, this is replacing another routing software. So that annual cost, we're already paying it for another software program, so it's not on top of anything that we already have.
Correct. Samsara, a piece that I forgot to mention, is going to be the GPS units that we have installed on the white fleet. Samsara gives us a live view of where our buses are and what's going on with them. We're able to navigate them. If something were to go down, we have a live map that we can look at, and it interfaces with Parent Portal so that when parents download the app, if they want to know, get a notification when their child's bus is within 3 miles of the stop, they can create that on the app through the settings area, and the phone will ding them when their bus is about 3 miles away, up to 1.5 miles close to the home. So it's a really interactive software that they'll be able to use. And what's next? EduLog and Samsara have a lot of opportunity for growth with communicative devices in the future, such as having a tablet for each bus that is not able to be manipulated by a driver when the bus is in motion. There are safety parameters that have to be in place. However, they can download a route so that if a bus breaks down and we need assistance immediately, we're able to shoot that route to that tablet so that another driver in the field can assist us in picking up students that otherwise may not be able to get picked up right away. It also has an RFID reader, which is like those little QR codes that can be put on a student's ID so that they can scan as they get on the bus, so that we can print manifests of true students that were on the bus that day in case we were looking for a student or need to pull a record in the event of an incident or accident. We are one team in the transportation department, just sharing a few pictures that we have taken. We've really strived to make our department a family-style atmosphere. It was family when I got there. They really did adopt me, but we have introduced a lot of fun things, and we do a lot of things together, and we really do enjoy working together. It's one of the wonderful things about working here. And ending on a positive note, in my 24 years, I've been brought a lot of things, but I have never gotten a frog before. And I'm new to Cave Creek. I live in Peoria, so that was a surprise. I don't know the reaction that they were expecting, but I'm a boy mom, so I was just like, cool, frog. It's just one of the things that make us unique, and that we have a lot of fun together, a lot of diversity. I've never had the privilege of working with such retired professionals in my life. We have retired pilots, retired nurses, retired doctors, retired military, retired teachers. We've got it all, and we all work together. For some reason, it just works. We have a lot of fun. We have monthly safety meetings. We've gotten back to what's important. We're rebuilding the department and putting students first. We're celebrating our diversities. We're having a lot of important conversations about what makes us us, and let's have buy-in. We're invested too. We're a part of this district. Motivation, and just, our days start so early in the morning, and, our day doesn't end till 5 o'clock, and some of us work 6 days a week to make those field trips happen, or a late field trip that doesn't get back till 10 o'clock at night, and no one complains. We're here to do the job. We're here to get our students where they need to go. And it takes an investment. This is the first district that I've worked for that didn't have a bond or override in place, and that comes with its own set of things that we have to work through, and it's given me the opportunity to find out the ways to make it work with what we have, and we do that. So when I say we're doing the best that we can, I truly mean that, and we're doing it well. I'm very proud of the department. I'm proud of what we've accomplished. I'm proud of what we are going to accomplish. We are very strong in supporting this district, and I'd like to end in saying that Appreciation Week is coming next week. I invite you all to please stop in transportation at some point. I know Dr. Monroe is going to be riding a route with us next Wednesday. Very excited to have him there. The drivers can't wait. Just any time. I know our schools are working with us to get appreciation banners up and thank you cards, and just use it as a week to really celebrate our staff. And I invite you all to please come visit. So if you guys have any questions for me.
I'll start off then. Would you like to introduce your two drivers that are here?
I sure would.
Great.
I have Destiny and I have John in the back.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Well, it was a great presentation. Thank you for everything. Don't have any questions, but very impressive of what you've done and the little time you've been here, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, the bus drivers are some of the unsung heroes in the district, and I really mean that. You guys are contained with those kids, and I've heard them on those buses. They're loud. There are departments in our schools that don't really get the notice that the teachers do. And so thank you so much for what you do. I could not drive a bus. Thank you so much. And I do have a couple questions. At the beginning when you were saying 50% and now we're up to 80%, so that 50% is a 50% deficiency and we increased by 30%?
We did. So basically, there are several points on an inspection that a DPS officer comes out and looks for. Without having a lot of resources, there were some things that were missed for inspection, and if they're not 100% perfect, they're not getting a sticker. So there were things that were found. Some of those things were fixed immediately and stickered. However, the initial inspection, they were at less than 50% passing rate. And this year, our mechanic, who also got noted for a garage star, Ken, and James worked really hard over the summer to get our fleet up to code, and we worked with our drivers to have them do thorough pre-trips, write up those tickets, let us know what's going on in our fleet. We worked with other districts finding out, hey, what's DPS really focusing on this year? We built those relationships at TAA so they were able to share with us, hey, we got inspected, he's really focusing on this. So we kind of had a heads up, and we just knew to go through our fleet and get it cleaned up to have a better passing this year.
And you talked about the aging of the fleet, and we had talked about that before when we went off for a bond. Our fleet is between 2002 and 2018. What's the average in other districts that have fleets up to par?
We like to see a route bus to be between brand new and 7 years.
Oh, my.
After about 7 years, that's when we start seeing a decline in the vehicle, and we like to get it on the reserve, still use it for things as a backup bus, or maybe park it and make sure it's an activity bus. It's doing those field trips and those things. But to have the newer fleet, obviously, with better air conditioning and better service for our students.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you for the presentation and all of the work that you've obviously been doing to improve things for the district, the students. And thank you to the drivers that are here. I know it's a long night. And to your entire staff for all they're doing.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, I just want to shout Danny's praises. These things don't happen accidentally. There's good leaders behind the scenes. There's good drivers, good staff behind the scenes that make these things happen. So I don't believe in accidents and happenstance. I believe in intentional efforts, and I appreciate Danny's leadership. It's an exciting world that we live in. I'm really excited for the things that are going to come for our parents. We're going to be a lot more customer friendly. I flew recently. When I flew, between the time I booked my flight until the trip was over, I didn't physically speak to anybody one time. It was all through my phone. So these young families who have bus riders will be able to communicate through the app on their phone, which to me is very exciting. You use your phone to go to a sporting event, you use your phone to book a flight, to go to the movies. And so I really like that we're meeting our families halfway. I mean, we're having a great customer service experience for them. So if the bus is 2 minutes late, the mom or dad can check their app. Oh, the bus got stuck behind an accident. They're running 5 minutes late. They don't need to leave their home to go to the bus stop to get their child. And so I appreciate, in my mind, I use the modernization word, and you're going to hear Dr. Hendrickson talk about that as well. But we're in 2022, so thank you for your leadership and your staff for leading us into the 20th century with regards to how we keep our kids safe and transport them. So it's very exciting. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, 3.3, annual financial presentation presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, President Hatcher, members of the board, and thank you, Danny. We do appreciate your leadership and are very excited about the things that are come for the transportation department. And yes, they did get me to drive a bus. So that was quite an experience. Tonight I want to share a few things with you. Later on in the meeting, you will be asked to approve our annual financial report. We always start with our strategic plan, and the role of the finance department is to always look for those efficiencies in our operations, and so we continually look for ways that we can best use the limited funds that we have. So a few things I want to talk about are going to be the Excellence Award that the Finance Department was given here last month. We want to look at our annual financial highlights, and then we also want to look at ESSER expenditure report, which is also on the agenda later on in the meeting. So as, thank you, President Hatcher had acknowledged, this award was given to the Finance Department, and actually it's given to the whole district. We all work at being very transparent, being frugal with our funds. This report just shows everybody how we spent the money. So we are very proud to have an honor to receive this award. We've received this award several years in a row. This district has gotten these acknowledgments and these awards. So want to just go into the annual financial report. So purpose of, again, that transparency, accountability, and compliance. So the annual financial report, what you're going to be seeing tonight is the actual report that we submit to the Department of Education. There is a statute, the 15904, says we must do this every year, and then the governing board approves this report. Then we'll submit it to the Department of Education, to the Auditor General's office, and our auditors who are coming next week will take this information and we'll work together to compile the financial CAFR, as known as it's called a SAFR now. It's they've kind of changed the name, but it's a comprehensive annual financial report that goes out to our public that shows how we spent the money. It's kind of like when you see a financial report from a corporation, you know, it tells you what profits they made, how they spent their money, how many of their shareholders got, you know, cuts. Well, we don't have all of that, but it's a similar type of report. When districts sell bonds, that report is used by investors to look at the stability and the financial liquidity of the district to determine whether they want to invest in the district or not. So those reports are kind of important. So let's talk a little bit about how we spent our money last year. So 80% of our M&O dollars, and that's our maintenance and operation budget, which is the largest portion of our budget, about $35 million, is spent on salaries and benefits. Just think about that for a minute. That is a lot of money that we invest in our staff. And we know that that is our biggest investment. We understand that it's important to offer competitive salaries and benefits. So this just shows you how the district is committed to investing. Old saying is, you know, show me how you spend your money and I'll show you what your priorities are. So I think this speaks very highly of the district. Purchase services, and these would be things that we contract out. So there may be some contracted teachers in there, but there's also contracted purchase services for special needs students. There's going to be custodial in there. There will be our liability insurance. So that's a big portion of how we spend money as well. And then we have supplies and dues and fees. So this is the revenue that's generated to support that maintenance and operation budget. So you see the majority, 75% of our M&O revenue is generated by property taxes. That other 24% comes for additional state aid that we get. So the state does give us a little bit of M&O money, but the majority of the revenue for M&O comes from property taxes. So here's another look at how we spend our money. So I showed you like what we spent our money on. Now this is the kind of the functionality of what areas do we invest our money in? Well, again, instruction, of course, is going to be the highest. That's where all of our teachers are. That's where we have supplies and purchase services. So you'll see that our instructional investment increased by 4.2%, which is great. You always want to see that area increasing. Student support. Now, under student support, you would see things like your counselors and your psychologists and OT/PTs, your health aides. That would be under student support. Now, instructional support, which went down a little bit, instructional support is like your professional development for your teachers. And this is M&O. Remember, this is M&O. So some of the things for instructional support, we had some grants that we got this year. So we were able to supplement some of our instructional support from some of the grant opportunities that we had. So that's why you see that go down a little bit, but that's like your coaches, not your coaches for athletics, but your instructional coaches, people who mentor teachers. And then administration, that went down 2.4%. Administration encompasses all the administrative roles, things that aren't happening in the classroom, but for instance, technology would be administration, business services is administration, your principals and all of their front office staff is administration. And then, of course, the leadership that at the cabinet level is administration. So it's not only just the leaders in that category, it's all of the support that comes under them as well that's in administration. And then maintenance and operation of plants, that also went down. And I attribute that to some of the efficiencies we've put into place. So some of the things like we put in some energy management savings. So that's where that those savings would be seen. We've just tried to get better at the way we provide some of our services. So I'm happy to see that M&O go down. Because see what happens when some of these other categories go down, you have money to invest in the classroom. So that's our goal, right? Operations of non-instructional, that's a little bit of food service in there. And then, of course, your transportation, which has stayed pretty even, went down a little bit, even with the increase in gas prices. So good job on efficiency out there in transportation. Excuse me. So now we're talking about the ESSER expenditures. So we got about $4 million in ESSER. We spent about $1.5 million. But here's some of the things that we've invested in. So maintaining that operation in the continuing of educational services. This is our ability to be able to, we've funded some teachers, some counselors, we've given 2 retention stipends out of these monies because we know that, you know, our employees, they work hard for us, and this is a way that we're able then to reward them for staying with the district, for coming back and working with the district. Technology-related spending would be like we bought laptops for all of our teachers. When I first came here, none of our teachers had laptops, which means when they go to professional developments, they can't really work together and share ideas and things like that. Now, with the PLCs and the professional development early releases, this has really empowered our teachers. There's also curriculum programs in that technology-related spending where we are purchasing some educational software that is able to help some of our students with learning loss because of COVID. We also have the new curriculum programs that are addressing learning loss, but there's technology in the program. Some of them are technology-related software, and then some of them are actual learning materials that we've purchased. Food service program, again, that goes to the retention of our food service department, mental health, and then our personal protection. So here's some future plans. We have $3 million left. We have to spend by 2024. So working with the Educational Services Department, we really have a lot of plans to infuse technology. All of our kids will be getting, our high school and our middle school kids will be getting Chromebooks. That investment is happening in this year. So remember those expenses that I talked about. Those were for last year. So moving forward, we have technology we're purchasing for the students this year, stipends for staff, and then some training and materials for the learning loss. And with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Anybody have questions?
I do have a question. That last slide, you said that the $3 million that's left for the ESSER money, we're going to purchase Chromebooks for the students?
Actually, some of that money's already been spent. This is moving forward in this fiscal year, so we've already spent a lot of that $3 million already. I'm just reporting from what we did last year on the other slide.
Okay, because what I was going to add, where I was going with this, I know Kiwanis has donated a large sum of money specifically for Chromebooks. So how does that play into the Chromebooks that ESSER money was purchasing?
So the amount of Chromebooks that we, the district needed, needed to be supplemented. The Kiwanis Club gave us a significant amount, but we still needed additional.
Okay.
Because we have to be ready for testing this year,
Sure.
and it's all going to be done on Chromebooks.
Okay, thank you.
And President Hatcher, members of the board, one of the strategies we've approached with these ESSER monies, although there's an end point to when they can be used, has really been kind of what happens with the override. And if the override was to fail, we need to be able to come up with various revenue so that we can continue to fund some of our extras and things like that. So we purposely tried to be a little tight at the beginning just to see what's going to happen in November. So that's maybe why you see a balance, although like Marcy said, it's smaller with some of the things that we spent just because we know the significance of November. So we always think about contingency. We always think about saving for a rainy day as much as we can. And so we've tried to just be very frugal in what we've used to see what's going to happen here next month.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. With the funding towards teachers and retention stipends, God forbid, if something happens that we can't support our teachers and staff, does this mean in 2025 we could possibly have to, I know it's tough to predict what will happen, but could possibly reduce staff because the ESSER monies will be gone?
Thank you, President Hatcher. What we have used the ESSER money for has been one-time funding. So we haven't put any permanent money into salaries or staff just because of that very reason. We don't want to be put in a position where you're funding a person with a grant and then the grant goes away and then you've lost that person. That is something that we really focus on not, having to be put in that situation. What we will lose is these retention stipends that we've been able to give our staff for the last 2 years. That will go away. But nothing as far as cutting positions. We don't have any permanent positions in this funding.
And on the admin, went down 2.4%. I realize that people just probably are cheering that. I, for one, happen to believe that administration needs to be paid equally as well as teachers and staff. I know that right now our priority is teachers and staff, but there's a lot of responsibility. There are a lot of folks involved, like you just described, and I just think that's a bad mindset. That when you're not willing to award administration, you risk them moving to other districts too that are more competitive. So.
Well, and President Hatcher, members of the board, I appreciate how Marcy explained the word administration, because a lot of times people see administration as me. And that is true. I am considered administration, but people forget that everyone in the business office and our ESS department, the secretaries, the front office staff at the schools, there's a lot jumped in that's kind of put into administration. And I'm really proud that we're lean and mean, and that our kids get a great level of education, and there are leaders and people who work at our schools and our district office who do a great job. So like Marcy said, the more efficient we can be, the more money we can funnel over into the classroom. But I appreciate, because that administration is very misunderstood when people say, hey, all the money goes to Dr. Monroe or all the money goes to administration. When you look at the fine print, administration encompasses quite a bit of the district.
Anyone else have comments or questions?
I have a question, and it might be for you two, maybe a little bit more. But can we go back to the last slide for what's spent in the next, for this $3 million, for materials and training support for loss of learning? I know in previous meetings we've actually talked about the gaps of curriculum, or amount of content and beyond textbooks. And I know we've talked about specific with math. Is there have we been able to fill in some of that gaps with content to fill in those holes with beyond textbooks?
Yes, good question, Member Walker. We've already this year, we've purchased a few things through, one is through a company called Empower Learning, and they design their instructional materials in the same philosophy that we have committed to using here in Cave Creek, and that's based off of the standard, not based off of a textbook. And so, as you may know, I know we've talked about it many times, many of the textbooks are designed, and they're designed to meet the needs of many states all across the country. And they may not be designed for Arizona state standards. They're by big publishing companies, and their job is to make a profit. They sometimes don't spend as much time on some of the standards that our students need more, and sometimes they spend more time on some of the standards that our students don't need as much. So we've chosen to go a different option, which is more lined up with our philosophy on PLCs as well, and that's where we look at the standards, we determine where our students are in relation to the standard, and then we teach in order to get there. And so the materials that we've purchased this year through Empower Learning are to help do that. Will there ever be enough? Probably not. I don't know any teacher who's going to say, please stop giving me more materials. I don't want any more resources. But the good part is with those math materials, we've been implementing training as well. And so each month for about the next 6 months, kinder through sixth grade teachers will be using one of their early release days to attend some of that training and learn how to use those materials, because we also don't want to just throw them at the teachers and then say good luck, try it. So yes, that was a long answer for yes, we are purchasing more materials.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just had a question, and I'm not sure if this is under ESSER or not, but where I work and a couple other places that I've worked prior to my current job, a lot of teachers are spending a lot of their own money. I mean, it's just a known fact. Is there any way that for places that they go, when you're looking for some of those supplemental resources, you go to some websites and there's always a membership fee or some cost for something. Is there any thought to helping out the teachers in that way, so maybe use some of this money at like maybe a school level to help them so that they don't have to pay so much out of pocket, but we could maybe have like at a school level saying, for teachers pay teachers, or for some of the other things that teachers always go to. Has that ever been considered for some of this ESSER money?
Vice President Fortney, that's also a good question. Yes, we've considered it. Now, as you remember at our last board meeting, we had some policy that we had to pass based off of recent legislation. And so our teachers' hands are tied a little bit more when it comes to something like teachers pay teachers, because all of their supplemental resources need to be on that supplemental resources list. They can't just go shopping, find the most recently released book at Barnes & Noble and read it aloud to their students anymore because of that recent legislation. So we have to be very careful with that. So we are always willing to help teachers and meet them where they are. However, we have to do so within policy, and that's really hard right now in this particular time.
But I will say, Member Fortney, that this is a topic of conversation that we've discussed in Cabinet as far as classroom teacher spends $700 at the beginning of the year to get their classroom ready, and sometimes it's hard for principals, obviously, within their school budgets to support them and all of that. And so Marcy and Nancy and Patty can comment. There's been a few things we've tried to do to carve out and lessen that burden on teachers to try to meet them. Our parents are very giving, obviously, but we've tried, I want to say it was the 180-day grant where we've tried to give some more money to our principals so that we can take some of that cost, that burden off of our teachers. Do you guys want to touch on that, Nancy?
One of the other pieces too is that, as you heard earlier from the Education Foundation, that we will be giving some teacher grants, and we know that we've recently worked with Heidi and the team about some of the resources that have already been approved through the school district, through the supplementary resources and funding through that resource. Again, as we talked about with the 100-day, there's some specific funding sources that have gone to the teachers on that piece. I know Kiwanis, also the Education Foundation, donated some funds for teachers for the warehouse on our school site so that they can come receive materials that they need for our new teachers. So we've tried to implement many different ways across the board to help all of our new teachers and our veteran teachers.
If the teachers did come to you guys and say some of the things for and beyond textbooks isn't working as well, we need some textbooks that go with it, can we do like a textbook dive, can we do something like that? Is that some of that money available through this ESSER, or is that not available through that?
So I've done several textbook adoptions, and the cost of that for even a school district our size would supersede what we currently have in ESSER if we were to look at it along all 4 core areas. So again, as we look at with the override hopefully passing, that might be something that we can look at. But just a reminder that it's millions of dollars for each of the 4 content areas, and that's just core content.
Yeah, we have to be really creative with how we fill those holes because they exist. There's no perfect curriculum framework. I don't care what someone rolls in front of you. And long gone are the days where the textbook teaches the kids. That was probably wrong from the forefront, that we shouldn't have been doing that. The standards and the teachers are what teach the kids, and the textbooks, those become the vehicle way to do it. But Mrs. Scott is right. Someone's always left out. So if you address the Spanish curriculum at the high school and you buy materials for that, then that's someone else where that money is not dedicated to. So when you talk about adopting, let's adopt a new reading series K through 3, which is millions of dollars, then you have 4, 5, and 6 that is kind of left out. So it's almost a wicked whack-a-mole game. And by the time materials are printed, remember, with how information changes nowadays, we all were in school and we'd all open the textbook and see how outdated that information was. And so it's a challenge. And so the ESSER money is available for that, but it's just simply not enough when you do a textbook adoption. So we're trying to be creative, meet teachers halfway, take the cost off them as much as possible. And now, like Dr. Jensen said, be very legal with what we are doing. We want to make sure our materials are vetted. We teach the standards. We don't teach things that we're not supposed to. So that's a really good consideration.
Anyone else? Thank you for that presentation. 3.4 Human Resources presentation by Dr. Frank Hendrickson.
President Hatcher and Governing Board, it's my honor to provide you with some updates on what's happening in human resources since I came on board kind of in June, officially in July. And so we're going to go through a few things. Obviously, we live in strategic plan priority number 2 with employee excellence. That's our focus, is how do we support our employees at all levels. And so in addition to that, looking at our effective operations and how do we streamline things, how do we become more efficient, how do we become more effective in the resources that we do have. Things we're going to be talking about today is a little bit meeting our team, the team that makes up our HR department, and some new faces that you'll see. Talk about current initiatives and projects, and then next steps, some both short and long-term goals. Any good leader is surrounded by an amazing team, and I truly have an amazing team of experts in their areas. So I gotta start with a shout out to them. As I'm moving into Cave Creek and learning some background knowledge about Cave Creek and their HR systems, it's these ladies that are working diligently behind the scenes to keep me up to speed, answer the questions I have. So I really owe it a lot to them. One of the changes we've recently made is in our HR coordinator positions with Annalie and April. Before, they were separated by certified and classified, and that creates some ebbs and flows in their jobs where you have lots of classified hiring at one point, you have lots of certified hiring at another point. And so now we've kind of streamlined it to where they are working with specific schools and departments with the focus of providing better customer service to have that one point of contact for each department. New to our team as well is Lizney Nolte. She is actually a parent in our district, recently moved here a couple months ago from Washington, and so she's our new substitute coordinator. She's been in that role for a couple weeks now, and so she's getting up to speed, taking over for Anna Lee, and making sure that every day all of our classrooms are filled with certified teachers. So she's been doing a great job. As Dr. Monroe alluded to earlier, start with our definition of modernization. And that's the theme that you're going to be hearing throughout this presentation is steps that we're taking in our department to modernize. Specifically, I want to talk about bullet number 2 there, efforts to be more efficient, customer-friendly, and paperless. In any process that we look at, we're looking at how can we make things easier for the principal, for the teacher, for the bus driver, for the custodian, for that when they need something from HR, they're getting it quickly, they're getting it the first time they call us. Because my goal, and when I was a building principal, my goal was always to provide that exceptional gold standard of customer service. And that's what I'm embedding with our team, is that whenever we have a phone call from one of our customers, one of our employees, how are we able to get them what they need, empower them, and then get out of their way so they can do their job in impacting kids? And so that modernization allows us to be able to do that. One example of that we just recently had a presentation from one of our life insurance providers through our insurance company. And in the past, we've been doing this process for insurance approval, sending in a paper copy, waiting for that to get approved. They've then come back. We now have a free service through our insurance provider that they can simply do it online. We're able to track it on our end to be able to let the employee know if they've now qualified for extended life insurance and whatnot. And so again, another way that we can simply modernize, make it much easier for all employees, and provide that customer service without missing that personal touch. And that's one of the things I'm really finding within our district is that we're small, we're mighty, and people love being here, and I'm really enjoying being here. And how do we become more efficient? Therefore, we can become more customer friendly and support our employees. So some of the current initiatives that we're working on, obviously strengthening our pipelines. And so working with different program organizations, including GCU, ASU, Western Governors University, Rio Salado is a big one as well. I recently met with Prescott College because they have some great new programs that they offer as well, to how do we build those pipelines? How do we get these interns into our classrooms? Because what we find is once they're in our classrooms, once they feel the culture of Cave Creek, they want to apply here. They want to remain here. So making sure that we are building those relationships, making those phone calls to say, hey, we have openings for this. Hey, we're looking for interns for this. And we're starting to fill some of those. So we just recently met with a former Cactus Shadows High School grad who is going through GCU, who wants to be doing her student teaching here in the fall. And I know she's going to be a hired employee in the spring, hired employee next fall. And so continuing to strengthen those pipelines has been a big focus for us. We're going to continue to explore more options. We heard about from Paradise Valley Community College, their program that they're going to be starting. So that's going to be another pipeline that we're going to be tapping into as well. Vector Evaluations Plus is a new system, again, a new modernized system. And so with the adoption of our new evaluation system, the STRONG program, we've been able to take that to an online platform. This is an amazing way for principals when they walk into classrooms, able to pull up an evaluation on their computer, look at past evaluations, be able to give feedback, immediately give that feedback to teachers. But it also does a lot of great data analysis. And so one of the neat features with vector evaluations is a principal can look and say, what are the instructional practices that are prevalent in my school that are working very well? But what are some instructional practices that we're missing? And they can simply run reports to see, here's the elements I'm not seeing. And that creates a professional development session. That creates a conversation during PLCs. Before you have every evaluation on a separate sheet of paper, you really would have to crunch your numbers yourself. So we're able to modernize, and principals have that data right at their fingertips. And so that's been new for us this year. And then reviewing various standard operating procedures. So looking at efficiencies in everything we do. When it comes to principals hiring, how do I make that hiring practice for them and getting them turning in that hiring packet? How do we make it quick and efficient for us to do a quick turnaround to get that employee started? When there's a process that needs to be done for any part of the life cycle of employee, what are we able to do to make that fast and efficient for that employee, to where it's seamless, to where it's consistent, to where anytime they're calling, they're getting a consistent process for that. And so those are the things that we're currently reviewing, and we've been already making some changes in that area as well. Our team meets every week, and what we've started in the last couple of weeks is really starting to develop our department vision. I've been asking a lot of questions about our department. Who are we? Who do we want to be? When people talk about human resources in Cave Creek, what are the thoughts and the words we want to come to their mouth? And so we've been taking a lot of time brainstorming those things. And that's going to become our tagline as we move forward to when you reach out to human resources, and I'm a little competitive with my colleagues, I want our department to be the gold standard, the one that gets the highest rating as we survey. And so I'm going to put that challenge out there to you guys. But we have that focus right now in developing our vision. Again, that gold standard of customer service. And so at a later meeting, we'll be talking about what that vision is and that tagline that we have for our department. One thing in the works right now is a wellness fair taking place on November 30th during our early release PLC time. We'll be getting some information out to you and all of our staff members, but we already have things signed up, including the mobile mammography bus that will be coming out, Skin IO, which is a skin cancer detection system as part of our ASBE insurance. We have some workshops set up. We have vendors coming out. So it's a great opportunity to really discuss wellness, discuss ways to stress management, anxiety, have a little fun that day as well. And so that's one of the things we'll be bringing to all staff members on that day. It's during that early release day, so it's going to be an opportunity for all K-12 staff members, both classified and certified, to attend. Sometime around December, we're looking to bring Pathways to Certification presentation. We have some amazing para-educators in our district that every week I get a phone call from a principal that so-and-so is looking to become a teacher. They're ready to become a teacher. What are the ways they can become a teacher? And with Arizona, with changing programs in all of our universities, there's various pathways for them to become certified. They either already have a degree or are exploring a degree. And so what we're going to be doing is during one of those early release days, bringing our paraeducators together to say and have presentations from all of our local universities of different ways that they can be receiving their degree, while they're teaching full-time is an option, receiving their master's while they're getting their undergraduate degree as well. So there's lots of options for them. So we want to take an opportunity to present that to them, again, as a pipeline of employees coming in. Currently, right now, I want to say we probably have 3 to 4 past paraeducators that are currently going through programs right now to become certified teachers. So it's just absolutely fantastic. One of the big focuses of HR in any department or any industry is employee relations and employee recognition. So continuing to support those initiatives that Dr. Monroe started in years past with the One Team, making sure we're recognizing our new teachers, making sure anytime that we can celebrate our teachers, whether it be through Employee Appreciation Week, Bus Driver Appreciation Week, again, making sure that we're bringing value to our employees. So it's not just about when we hire them and then getting them through that process. It's about how do we cultivate that culture with them along the way. Some additional current initiatives. If you've seen any of our emails from anyone in my department, there is a survey that that anyone can complete every time they have an interaction with my department. So it says, how did we serve you today? They click on the link. It opens up a Google form where they can give us feedback, and we've gotten lots of feedback already. It allows us as a team to sit down and go, what are we doing well to meet that gold standard, and what are some additional ways that we can build our capacity and making sure that we're fulfilling the needs of all of our stakeholders. We're in the process of developing an employee stay survey, satisfaction survey. We haven't landed quite yet on the exactly what we're going to call it, but we're looking to have a survey of all staff members come out in January. Where we're looking at is, why did you choose a CCUSD? What keeps you here? Do you feel that you have a voice in the decision-making process? Do you feel valued by your colleagues? So we really be able to capture what's going well, but provide that feedback to our departments and to our principals to say, hey, what can I do to improve as part of our continuous improvement? So we're looking forward to having that and getting various stakeholders involved in the process of developing that survey for them. One of my roles is that continued principal director employee relations, making sure that our department is interacting with all employee groups to be that support when there's needed. So that's one that I'm continuing to foster. Policy review and committee feedback. We live in Section G of our policy manual, and there's lots of policies in there. I've been able to work closely with Mrs. Sorensen, who sat in this role previous to me, to assist in updating some of our policies that are currently out of alignment with some of our practices. So we're looking at different things like that we'll be bringing to the board here in the future to make sure that we're aligned with statute, we're aligned with kind of current practices and current best practices as well. So those are lots of current things that are in the works. I'm going to touch on some next steps. I briefly talked about that STAY survey that we will hopefully be rolling out in January and giving that feedback to our principals and our department leads and bringing some of that information to you as well. Spending lots of time planning and strategizing for the hiring season. So lots of different recruitment events that we have coming up. This year, kind of my focus is to kind of throw a strategic pathway forward of throwing a large net of seeing what's out there, the different recruitment events, but then also collecting data from those and saying, where do we get our most bang for our buck? Where can we really make sure that we are focusing on hitting certain events where we know we're going to be able to get new employees hired? So there's some different ones coming up with ASU and GCU. We're going to be looking to hosting some of our own recruitment events throughout the spring semester. And making sure we're doing it early and often. That's one of the things we were a little bit behind on this year, but being able to capture our new employees early in the process. Currently working with the team that developed some of our other videos, most recently the One Team Cave Creek Cares video, working with that team to do a recruitment video where we're going to be highlighting what does it mean to be a teacher in Cave Creek, why choose Cave Creek. So we're really excited for that. We're going to be presenting that video hopefully by the end of the semester. That's something that's going to be used on our website when we go to these job fairs, a quick QR code where someone can really see what does it mean, what does it look like to be a teacher here. Additional next steps is getting some master staffing reports. One of the things I found in coming in is really having clean for when I work with principals, say, where do you have gaps? Where do you have holes? Where do we need to replace for next year? And so having some clean data sheets for our principals to work off. When someone goes, who we're replacing that with, is that a source position that's funded out of grant, funded out of PTO, to make sure as they go into that summer season, they know exactly where they have gaps, where they are hired at, and then we're able to then strategically recruit for those openings. So that's one of the things that we're working on right now. HR-related training as we update systems. For instance, the vector evaluation system training was a training that we did for our principals about a month ago. But making sure any processes or changes that we do, making sure that we're working with our principals, directors, our admin assistants as well. We're infusing all these trainings during our monthly leadership teams. Team meetings. We're infusing these trainings for our admin assistants during their PLC time. We're doing some trainings with them to making sure that we're honoring their time and giving them what they need for those. One that's I am hoping to keep my department very busy here come post-November 8th, is doing a salary and stipend review of really doing a deep dive into our salary schedules, both classified and certified, looking at the compression that we have created over the years of not being able to give salary advancements, making sure that we're honoring our employees for the years of commitment that they've been here, been frozen, and being able to maximize as much as possible the override dollars to make sure that we're appropriately compensating our employees. So that's going to be a big focus of ours. Looking at stipends, looking at the stipends we're paying, making sure that they are on par with our neighboring districts, they're competitive with those things. As teachers come up with new creative ideas of things that they would like to do on their campus, clubs and initiatives, making sure that we have stipends and a system to fund those stipends in place. And also making sure that our new salary schedules are going to be very formulaic, very much you come in, you have this many years of experience, this many years of a master's degrees, additional degrees. How can we make sure that we're placing you appropriately, being competitive with those things like that? So lots of work come November 9th that morning. So we're starting right away with that. A few other things with our next steps is looking at, again, standard procedures and documentation and forms, making sure that when a principal needs something, when a staff member needs something, when there's a process for it, it's a consistent, and we can say, here's how we do this. Here's what I need from you in order for us to quickly and effectively turn around and get that information to you. Again, continuing to develop and strengthen our employment pipelines, looking at alternative certification paths, looking at mitigation of our staffing shortages. And a big part of that is how do we continue to sell and tell our story? I think the more people hear about our culture up here and they hear about what does it mean to be a teacher in Cave Creek, those are things that we can celebrate that can help mitigate some of our shortages. Research shows that employees, leave because of their managers. They don't necessarily leave because of money all the time. And so how do we infuse and support our leaders to be the best that they can be to support our employee groups to help with some of those staffing shortages so along the way? We talked a little bit about our evaluation system through Vector. In the coming school year, we will be rolling that out to both classified and administration as we adopt the new strong evaluation instruments for those groups. And then lastly, coming up here in late fall, early spring is Vector PD tracking, so another tool through the Vector program. So currently, when our employees, our teachers go to professional development, they usually kind of get a sign-in sheet, they get a certificate. When their certification is up for renewal, they have all these pieces of papers that hopefully they held on to for the last 10 years. And then we have to say, yep, you meet the number of hours in order for you to be recertified. Vector PD tracking does that all digitally for our teachers. What it does is allows our principals, our admin assistants to build a course within Vector PD. Teachers sign in for it. So when the teacher is up for renewal, they simply go onto their system, they hit their, print off their history. We sign that off in HR that that's confirmed that they've completed all those credits. They're able to go down to ADE. So again, another way to modernize things. This is great when a teacher hopefully doesn't leave our district, but when they leave our district, they know all the hours that they have. And so that's going to be a new, we already have the system. We're going to be rolling that out here in the late fall, early spring for our principals and our teachers as well. So I covered a lot there, but those are just a few things that we're working on. We're very excited with the work we've been doing so far, and we're very excited for the work we're going to be doing in our future to, again, provide that gold standard of customer service and give our principals, our leaders, our teachers, our bus drivers, our custodians everything that they need so that they can do it effectively and we can get out of their way for it.
So President Hatcher, members of the board, let me just chime in before there's any questions. I am super appreciative of Dr. Hendrickson's leadership. As you can tell, it's very measured, it's very focused, and it's very consistent. And we have a lot of systems that are broken or missing a piece or the widget's gone. And I appreciate that Frank says, why is it this way? Or why has it always been done that way? I've always found an obstacle to change is when people just default, well, it's always been done that way. And he always thinks about our employees in mind and why we do things. So like Danny, you can see the modernization efforts, and keep in mind that Dr. Hendrickson started on the job in July. And so he is definitely drinking from a fire hose, but very, very quickly he's gone from a reactive mode to being very proactive. And so the things that you saw in the PowerPoint, him and his department are knee deep in it, and the idea is to be more customer friendly with our employees. And Frank will say things like, well, why don't we ask the employees? And I say, well, Frank, that's why we're putting the survey together, like what we've talked about with our board. I appreciate that he has the mindset to say, I don't want to call extra meetings, and because we want to protect our leaders' time, so we do trainings within the set meetings. It's important to us that our principals are out of the building less than they have been, and I'm pretty confident they're out a lot less this year than last year because we had so many things to be putting together. So I appreciate Dr. Hendrickson's leadership. As you can see, there's a lot of exciting things happening with regards to human resources. One other thing I appreciate about Frank is you saw in the slideshow hiring season. Every day's hiring season. And so you can feel that from Dr. Hendrickson. It just doesn't start January 1 or when contracts go out, but we're actively trying right now to plant seeds to have great people in front of our kids next year. And to me, that's really exciting because as a superintendent, I want us to be a nimble organization that isn't reactive, but we're trying to be proactive. So I just want to compliment Dr. Hendrickson on his efforts so far.
Yeah, this was a really, really comprehensive report. This was excellent, and it's really impressive what you've done in a short period of time. So it sounds like, I'm backing way up now, when principals go in and they can see electronically, can compare what they're doing now, what they're doing before, and also it sounds like looking at trends and patterns within their own building. So that's what they're doing, looking at trends, right? And patterns of good teaching consistently or
Correct.
deficiencies consistently.
President Hatcher, that's correct. So there's several reports that they can run where they can look at how many times I've been in a teacher's classroom, how many minutes we've spent in that teacher's classroom, what are the instructional elements of, standard 4, 4.1, 4.2, which ones are we hitting consistently that I'm seeing all the time? So they're able to run reports that show specifically that. So to say, hey, we're seeing a lot of these great teaching strategies, but we're missing some of these ones that are going to get more bang for your buck as far as student achievement outcomes. So they're able to not necessarily run those reports now because they're just getting into the evaluation process, but over time we're going to be able to build a database with that. And then Mrs. Scott and Dr. Jensen on their end will be able to look at it as a trend district-wide of things that we're seeing at elementary schools or seeing, hey, DSA is knocking it out of the park on test scores. Let's look at their instructional practices of what's happening there. So it's going to be a great tool down the line.
Yeah, it sounds really, really good. And they're not using it to be punitive, but rather to learn. For student achievement. So it sounds excellent.
And these are all very significant changes. So although we say it, we are in the midst of it.
Yeah.
And we certainly are not trying to stress anyone out and help our principals. These are all significant organizational changes. And so I would just ask for the board, grace and patience, because we have a vision and we know where we're going to go, but it's easy to talk about these things and it's harder to change behaviors. So our principals are learning these things, our teachers are learning these things, and so we're kind of in the midst of the tornado, but at recognizing where you are in the change cycle and seeing what the end game is very powerful. So again, HR, the world is changing very quickly. Teacher evaluation, a lot of that is changing. And so our principals, our teachers are having to adapt to that change. And we're obviously going to be patient with them, and we're going to be, walking hand in hand with them and understanding, say, hey, take a deep breath. We're all in this together. We're all learning the system together. We'll get you the training. Can I come and sit down with you? I can show you how to do it. So I just want to remind the board about that because we get really excited. But remember, we have a large organization and we have to help people feel comfortable with all of these changes.
How are the new teachers doing? Have you heard? Are they adjusting well? And
yeah, and I'm going to kind of hand off to Dr. Jensen over there. One of the things I think that's been great this year is having our instructional coaches, and we just hired an additional instructional coach for secondary. And those instructional coaches are working their tail off. I don't think they're ever in the office. They're bouncing around from site to site, teacher to teacher, providing that support. I think our mentorship program is assisting that, PLC program.
Dr. Hendrickson said it well. He did a great job. So yes, all of those things. But what we are finding is our newer teachers are needing that just-in-time support, and so our instructional coaches are able to do that. They don't want to wait until October 15th when our next new teacher training is. They want to know, why can't I get the kids under control at this very moment? And they can call Mrs. Hughley and say, can you come help me? All of my callbacks aren't working. What do I need to do? And then she comes in and works her magic. So,
and if I go to the high school, for example, to go walk in classrooms with Mrs. Barella and Mrs. Scott, proverbially, who will catch me before I leave is Frank. Dr. Hendrickson will catch me with some pins and a list of new teachers and say, hey, can you get into these classrooms and just show these teachers some love and let them know that we appreciate them. And so then I tell Mrs. Barella, can we pop into these 3 classrooms? And those interactions are worth their weight in gold, just to see how emotional people get to say, hey, I'm seen, I'm noticed, I'm appreciated, thank you. And so those are the kind of things that I appreciate about Dr. Hendrickson, his attention to detail that way.
Anyone else?
I have a lot, actually, but thank you. You answered some of them
Absolutely.
already. First of all, thank you. I had a teacher say that unfortunately she had to take some long-term leave due to a family emergency, and she said HR was amazing, so
Excellent.
she gave me praises on that. And that was in the beginning of the year, so thank you very much. Okay, first, is this vector tied to our effectiveness project as far as evaluations, or are there two totally different?
So, President Walker, members of the board, so the effectiveness project is looking at what is the evaluation tool, and that's going to be the strong instrument. Vector is simply the digital platform that houses that. So
Okay.
We looked at several vendors that could house the strong model. We found that Vector was not only the most cost efficient, but also the most user friendly for staff. So it is tied in
Okay.
with that project.
Okay. And do we have our surrounding districts doing the same sort of, I mean, I'd assume that there's only a few softwares that kind of offer this for education?
Yeah, President Walker. So as I meet at the end of each month with HR directors from the entire East Valley, we do a breakfast each month, and that's one of the discussions we've had is what systems that they're using. So several are using the Vector system. Frontline is one. Power Schools utilize one. So most districts we were one of few that were not using a digital platform. So we're now modernized with that. So lots of them are using a digital platform.
Okay.
Yeah,
and have
just,
for years.
Just to give you a little perspective, Member Walker, when I came to the district, I hadn't seen a paper evaluation for 8 to 10 years in my past districts. Like I hadn't seen a paper file that people were physically signing. And so when I came, I was like, whoa, I'm kind of going back in time a little bit. And so, I think maybe probably 8 to 10 years was the last time. And so we had those in place. And so that was an obviously area of efficiency. And I like how Frank answered the effectiveness project. That Vector just becomes the vehicle it becomes the platform for those evaluations. So teachers will do electronic signatures. They'll have a face-to-face with their principal, but it's all online kind of going back and forth. If they want to print something out, they can. And then it allows us to file those and archive those, and principals are able to pull up evaluations and feedback from the year previous. So it becomes very, very nice.
Okay. That answers that. I like the use of technology. That's my industry, my normal job, Monday through Friday. Maybe as part of your staff survey, it just seems like there's a lot of change all at once. If that could be somehow included in your staff survey, I think that would be important. Also wondering if that could be done sooner than January, just because of hiring deadlines, and also as part, maybe using that information to help with the department vision.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if that's something we can roll out sooner, maybe this semester before the Christmas break for our staff. And then my last one is on this, just has to do with the salary and stipend review. You had talked about freezes and pay, and I think I do hear a lot of rumblings about a lot of our staff doesn't know. I don't know if I'm at the correct pay scale or where I should be. Other districts, you can easily go online, go to their HR and say, okay, this was my starting salary. I'm at and add on the other stipends. Will we have something like that that'll be easy to know where they can be?
Yeah, I think that's the goal. With years of not having raises and being tight budgeted, you're not able to move that 1 year up in what they call a stepless salary schedule, or say, here's your base, how many for each year for your degrees like that. Then it makes it a lot easier for raises, where you say if we're doing 2% across the board, it's even. Right. And so what I'm finding is that because we have people that have been frozen for so long, they may have been teaching for 10 years. You have someone that comes in with 10 years experience from another district. If I try to put them on our currently salary schedule, they're going to be jumping this individual by quite a bit. So we're very cognitive to respect our current employees. And so you're right, there isn't a current system where they can go on and say, next year, if this continues, it would be this. Or if I'm new to the district, I'm looking to find out where my placement it is, I can simply look at their formula. So that would be the hope that we move to that schedule, because it allows us to be, I think with Marcy's department as well, really know where we're at, being able to predict raises from year to year. So that would be the long-term goal.
And Member Walker, I envision in the future some sort of calculator, where people can, some districts have that, where they can put in, hey, this is my degree, how many years I've taught, and then they can kind of get an idea, if I got hired, I would make this amount. Calculator doesn't really help us if November doesn't work out, you know what I mean? But I suppose it could, but that would be kind of the vision where you know exactly how your pay stacks up and how much you could make when you come and work for CCUSD compared to other districts. So I know that breakdown really helps people know that I make this, I can make this, I can make this, and then if I do this next year, I get this.
Right. Also an incentive as far as continuing ed, those sort of things.
Absolutely.
That's all for right now. Thank you.
Thank
I
you, Member
appreciate
Walker.
it.
Anyone else? Nope. Okay, moving on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 4, action consent. Is there a motion to approve action consent as presented?
So moved.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve number 4, action consent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Number 4, action consent is approved as presented. Number 5, old business, there is none. Number 6, new business, 6.1. Annual financial report for 2021-2022, school level reporting annual financial report for 2021-2022, presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Madam President and members of the board. We spoke a little bit about the highlights for the AFR, the annual financial report, earlier in my presentation. So the district is required to submit an annual financial report for the prior fiscal year to the county superintendent and to ADE. There will also be a file that will be going to the Auditor General's office. In addition to the summary that will go to the Department of Education, you will all be signing a form tonight, and we have to have that uploaded to the Department of Education by the 15th of November. So we're within our timelines to get those reports submitted timely. So what you have for supplemental reports that will be submitted as well are school level reporting, and you have that. That's quite an extensive school level, several pages of how schools spend their money as well. The food service annual financial report to show you how our food service department is spending their money. And then the new report this year is that school district COVID report that you have as well. So just some of the highlights, how we've spent our money. You'll see that we will have some carryover in maintenance and operation of $340,000. That will be on the revised budget that we'll be doing this year, so that's additional carry forward. We had projected about 270, so we have a little bit more carry forward than we originally projected there. And then also with the capital outlay, expenditures were almost 600,000. And then we're going to carry forward 1.6. Now that does seem excessive carry forward in that capital, but remember, we are very capital poor. So if we have an emergency where we have to invest some capital, it's always nice to have that reserve. So it is recommended that it is moved that the governing board approve the annual financial report for 2022 and the school level reporting annual report for 2021-2022 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? No questions? Okay, hearing none, it's been moved and seconded to approve item 6.1, annual financial report for 2021-2022, school level reporting annual financial report for 2021-2022 as presented. We're going to have a roll call vote on this. I'm an aye.
Oh, aye.
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 Okay, item 6.1 has been approved unanimously by a 5-0 vote. 6.2, resolution supporting a fiscal year 2023 aggregate expenditure limit override, presented by me. Okay. The recommended action is that we move that the governing board approves the CCUSD governing board resolution supporting a fiscal year 2023 aggregate expenditure limit override as presented. So I move that we do that. Is there a second?
So, second.
Questions or discussion or comments?
Well, it's unfortunate we have to do this, but we definitely have to do this so that we can actually spend the money that we have. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it came out recently that the income tax rate of 2.5 is going into effect on January 1st, which is a year sooner than expected. The rainy day fund on Washington Street is at $1.4 billion. It's the highest level in state history. And the source went on to say that economists forecast a $4 billion surplus through 2024. So, the state has a bunch of money, and I think we all agree we'd like to see some of it. Any other comments or questions? All right. Hearing none. It's been moved and seconded to approve 6.2, the resolution supporting a fiscal year 2023 aggregate expenditure limit override. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain. The motion carries. 6.2 is approved as presented. Number 7, future agenda item request from Member Brown, presented by me, Beth Hatcher. Okay. So I'm just going to read right off the thing. I would like to request the following item be placed on the next governing board meeting as a future agenda item. That the governing board shall have a discussion that the CCUSD superintendent, the Cactus Shadows athletic director, and the Cactus Shadows principal all violated ARS 15-511 in their demands of including a unique advertisement in this season's Cactus Shadows football program that conveys a specific point of view for the upcoming override issue, but did not allow any other advertising that had a basic, quote, vote on November 8th, unquote, statement attached to it. So so the recommended action is to vote to approve placement on an upcoming agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to place this on an upcoming agenda. Let's do a roll call vote on this one. Member Brown, it's his agenda item, so let's begin with you.
That would be an aye.
Member Walker?
Nay.
Mr. Member Fortney?
And I asked a lot of questions about this, and based on the answers, I'm going to have to vote no on this. It appears to be more grandstanding, and I can't support that.
Okay, there is no evidence to substantiate this legal charge against 3 administrators, and the ad referenced in 7.1 was placed by the PAC, so I am a nay. Member?
I'm going to abstain from voting on this because I'm not following where all of this is, so I abstain.
Okay, so there's a tie vote. No, there's not a tie vote, sorry. It's a 3-1. The motion fails. Number 8, upcoming calendar events, 8.1, Dr. Monroe.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, just 2 to bring to your attention. Saturday, if you have any time, we're having our One Team Day event. We're so excited about this. I know Mr. Karpinski, Mr. Ammon, Principal Barella, that this is the event where we invite all of our students and their families with special needs to come and celebrate, be part of the one team with our football team and our cheerleaders, and that happens at Falcon Field. Is it 8:30, Drew? Is that right? 8:30? So it lasts about an hour, and this may be one of the best events we do all year. So if you have time on Saturday morning, it's a wonderful celebration of all of our students. So that's this Saturday, Falcon Field. And then on November 11th, believe it or not, we're talking about Veterans Day coming up just around the corner.
Okay, thank you. Number 9, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.